On to the next topic next week. So the Perek design and um, uh, Perek design, Yutain, and Yuches are all short. So I want to go through them quickly. And when we start really Perek design, the question is why Kosh Baruch Hu needs us to daven. Hashem knows what we need. We shouldn't have to need to daven. So it seems like a very good question. And he goes into the answer and he starts the answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 dot lines down into Parakut Tezain. At the end of the line it says Ki Hashpas HaTova. Okay, you see that? Ki Hashpas HaTova, last two words in the line. Parakut Zayin around 10 lines down.
Yeah.
You see it?
Design?
Tezain.
Design.
Do you have it? Okay. So, Ki Hashpas HaTova, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu influences with good stuff is by Yeshua and salvation. He's going to use two metaphors here. The first one is that of a spring. We say this every Motzei Shabbos, right? You just draw up water with joy from the well springs of salvation. If you have a good spring which has good water, anybody who wants to satisfy his thirst, is going to go to the spring. So with easy means, he'll be able to draw up the water from the floor of the spring. Oh yes, he'll bend over and drink up himself. Like Gidon, the people they lay down to drink for the spring. The bottom line is there's plenty of water there. Now there's the gang Yeshua Hashem. You have a Shulchan saying Kimamash B'chinas Hamayon. Both 2 pages. It's like a spring. Now the idea which he's saying is that Hashem's Yeshua is always flowing. It's always the same. The question is whether you tap into it or don't tap into it. And that's what he's going to say Tefillah is about. Tefillah doesn't turn on the water. The water is there flowing. Mayone Yeshua are constantly flowing. The question is whether you can tap into it. Now, it's not so, he said, a good spring, it's easy to tap into it. It's not as easy to tap into Mayone Yeshua as it is to tap into a spring. Otherwise, the Yeshua would have come a long time ago. So obviously, the Yeshua is not the same thing as tapping into a true spring. Also, although he doesn't emphasize this enough, it's Yeshua comes, like you mentioned before, for Am Yisrael. In other words, as an individual, you might be worthy, you might have the tools at your disposal to make your part of the bucket. But the bucket is not a bucket which is made by any one person. The bucket has to be made by a whole bunch of people together. So your component in making the bucket to draw from the spring, you can make. But that's not necessarily enough to bring the Yeshua for Klal Yisrael, obviously. And that's he goes on, he says, the spring is always there in a way that it can come very quickly to those who are able to draw from it. Again, it's not so simple, but a person who is able to draw from it can draw from it very quickly. My Yeshua is close to come. Salvation is close to those who fear him. Because Baruch Hu doesn't change his mind. Because Baruch Hu is always giving a bracha. The bracha is always there. The question is whether you can tap into it. So again, you have to imagine there's this huge flow of water just way above my head. And I have to be able to tap into it and get it. So tefillah is me being able to jump up and tap into that flow of bracha, which is constantly flowing.
How can you say that Hashem doesn't change his mind when we say all the time, like, Seres Mei Teshuva is from the 10 days in between.
And so according to this, you're right. The Seres Teshuva boosts you. We give a metaphor of Hashem coming close to us, but that doesn't. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
That's just for us to understand.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. We have special tools at special times of the year to tap into that flow better.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it's V'gam lo shinei zman b'nidvas Yeshua. So this Mamish addresses your question. It doesn't change with time. The flow is always the same. Because it has a place of honor to the right of a person who questions and looks for it. But that Yeshua doesn't come at certain times. It's only because of the lack of the person who's asking, or the lack of the people who are asking for Yeshua. Your heart falls short in coming close to it. He's not whole with Hashem in the strength of his yearning, and the hope and trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So according to this, somebody who's able to draw a circle and get the rain, it's not because there's a bigger flow for him. He's just able to tap into it better. Anybody, and of course, people who are tzaddikim, they have tools, which we don't have. None of them have had the tools so far to bring the Yeshua for Klal Yisrael. You know, there's a terrible, I once read a review on Haggadahs for Jewish Action magazine, and there's a Haggadah from the Chazon Ish, and ostensibly for Chazon Ish, and I said, it can't be the Chazon Ish, because he said in the Chazon Ish Haggadah, it says that, the Chazon Ish said, according to this Haggadah, that he, with his tefillos, he stopped Rommel from invading Eretz Yisrael. And if he had known about the Holocaust, he would have stopped the Holocaust too. But Shemayim, they didn't tell him about the Holocaust. Now I said, it's not possible Chazon Ish is such a Baal Gaiva. It's actually, even, you know, I'm sure he wouldn't have believed it, but even if he would have believed it, he wouldn't have said it. Right? To say that I stopped Rommel by myself, that's absurd, right?
The question is if he could have stopped the Ghost to Mitzrayim.
Yeah. So the point is that nobody on their own can accomplish these things, but a person who's a big tzaddik can accomplish a lot. Okay, so that's that. He has the tools. So then he says here, now he gives another mashal, although he slips very quickly from one mashal to the other. The next mashal he gives is a mirror. And the interesting thing is that in the mirror, only you are active, not a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's an amazing statement he makes here. How so? He says, somebody looks at a polished mirror. The closer he gets to the mirror, the image he sees will get closer too. It's going to get distance when he distances himself. The same way. That's the possible we say about this. Hashem tzilcha. Hashem reflects you. You come close to Hashem. Hashem comes close to you. You go back from Hashem. Hashem goes back from you. That's why there's a statement. It's not a pasuk anywhere. It's a statement. Im tazveni yom yamayim azveka. If you leave me for a day, I'll leave you for 2 days. What do you mean? Well, because it's not fair. I left Hashem for 1 day. Why should I leave him for 2 days? The answer is because the mirror. You go 1 day back. Because Baruch Hu goes 1 day back. So, it seems that both of them are involved in this. The further and the closer, it's only in the hands of one. When a person comes close to the mirror, so it looks like the opposite form comes close to him. And the opposite as well. The idea is Hashem's Yeshua is there. It's in the mirror. It's a reflection of you. If you come close, it comes close. If you don't come close, it doesn't come close. So actually it's in your hands. Yeshua is always there. Okay, it's a different motion than the first one. First one he says it's like a flowing spring. Here he says it's like a mirror. But the ideas are similar. Everything is up to you, and that's what davening is about. Davening, and that fits with his idea of davening being dvekus. Because if you're dovik, it means you come close to the mirror. If you're dovik, it means you're trying to tap into the spring. So that's why davening is so important to have the dvekus in Hashem, which brings you close to that Yeshua. if the Yeshua of Hashem is close to the person who's a complete mamin, Homei mitzvah, standing on guard. Karev Atzmoilem comes close to Baravi Yichul with tremendous yearning, Batikva, and hope. Mechakeh Aleh Shlovan waits for it to happen. What about the fact that Hashem seems to be distant at times? It's because the person who's looking for the Yeshua doesn't have the heart. With the strength of power, to cast his burden Hashem. Therefore, since he's far, from the yearning, from the hoping, in his heart and his soul, so to distance, and retreat as the soul Yeshua so. I'm sure like David Melch said in the short 16th verse, I never thought about this before. Tell you, I saw this the first time, and I never saw it before. What does the pasuk mean? Normally, we have to think about it. May your chesed be upon us because we are yearning for it. He says, no. Our chesed will come from us to the extent that we yearn for it. In proportion to our yearning comes the salvation. It's an amazing pshat. Okay, so that's he's saying. That's the mirror effect. Based on our bitachon and our quest, so what does it mean? What's tefillah mean? It's not that it's something which Hashem didn't want yesterday, now you'll make him want it. And to change Hashem, yesterday he was upset at you, today he's happy with you. Feel proves that you have a strong yearning and hope. You trust in Hashem, he is your salvation. That's why he's been uplifted in spirit and he's volunteered to put together, to compose his tefillah, Lakel Moshiach, to Hashem will save him. By his efforts, he's and is fortifying himself. To go with security, to go securely. Time to Hashem. Hashem lo be'ezro. Hashem will help him out. You'll take the merchav automatically. Who in Hashem Chazal? Arba tzrichim chizuk. 4 things called chizuk. One of them is tefillah. Minayin. How do you know that? Shemar kaveh Hashem. Chazak yametz libecha. It's all has to do with your heart. Hashem is there. The question is, what's in your heart? That we understand according to our what we explained. So I think it's a very important paragraph, extremely important insight, which is that Hashem's bracha is always there. The question is whether I'm able to tap into it. And again, although he doesn't stress it here, it's obvious. As an individual, I can never tap fully into Yeshua Hashem, and because it's all the tzibur together. But there is something I can tap into on my own, and I have to try. But it's always flowing. Yeah.
For your own personal though, it seems like you can tap in for your own personal.
Even for your own personal, because your own personal always is intertwined with other people.
I hear that.
Yeah. In other words, you might deserve a bracha, but if you get a bracha, Yankel's going to get it too, and we don't want Yankel to have a bracha. That's but you get the idea.
No, that could be reality.
Yes.
Meaning, like for me, what would be good is necessarily not like. For me right now to leave my job would be fantastic for me, but my boss and all those people that are going to suffer from it.
Right, exactly.
Right. So that's not good for them.
Right.
Don't they say the
Doesn't bring the geula.
Yeah.
Don't they say the opposite? That before you're there, they always say, right, be part of the crowd, because even if someone's supposed to do something bad, if it's not.
Yeah. No, it's always safe to be part of the cloud. It's always better for you, right? But that also means there's responsibility, right? It's always better in the long run, but sometimes in the short term, the cloud doesn't deserve something you're not going to get either. No.
Like the gula.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so yes, it's always better to be part of the cloud. That's the general principle, even if for the short term it's not going to work out properly. That's how you have to look at it. That's the Chazon Ish's idea of bitachon, right? Bitachon is not it's going to be great. It's going to be what's best for everybody.
The mirror mashal, I was just thinking, he stresses the importance of when one davens, it's not for oneself, it's for others. Right? So I was thinking like the mirror mashal, if you're davening for, across from you, you'll receive. So it can apply.
Yes, you can apply it. That's a whole different way of applying it. But that's very good. Yes. Shkoyach. All right, let's go on to Berak Yudzayin. Boivar tutza mashik shabal akelim sharkov ches. Lama say that hatfila dvar mitzvah v'chayva. Why do we have to daven? The meyachesh hatfilu tzorach adam v'kesh lochav. Since it's for you to ask for your own needs. Im loy v'kesh me'kodesh baruch hu ilu daf say nafshay. It's your loss, right? So therefore, why do I daven 3 times a day? It's not fair. I don't want to daven 3 times a day. I'll daven once a day, right? It stinks to have to daven 3 times a day. So why do I have to do it? My betzel is barach. Why? What good does God care? My davening 3 times a day.
Isn't mechiv only to daven once a day?
What? Mechiv midaraisa is yes. Okay. But even that, we can ask you why once a day.
Why once a day?
Yeah. Siksha about kedu sharkov ches. Amash kosu zal. Because I'll say the tefillah mitzvah the same in the Torah. Ki lo mitzvah tefillah var mitzvah chayva. Why is tefillah mitzvah? Since it's your own request, so you can give many answers to the question. Okay, let's see what he answers. A person will do it on his own for his benefit and his good. Anybody doesn't want to ask for Hakadosh Baruch Hu, you have seen it's his loss. My bet's a law use Baruch with Varfil. What does Hashem gain? For my davening, Tirtza Nezer Hakodesh. I know that is, but somebody. Mishumachi Atfilah He Mitzvah Simei Torah. Why? Shem Shakadosh Baruch Hu Tzono Tami Leitiv. Hashem always wants to do good to us. If you don't daven, you're not allowing Hashem to be mated to you. I don't know if I ever told you this story. Probably I did, but there's a story they tell about the growing about Shem Tov, so it must be either totally true or totally untrue. Because that there was once one Esrog in the city. And the Gra / Baal Shem Tov wanted to use the Esrog, and the owner of the Esrog said to the Gra / Baal Shem Tov, I'll give you the Esrog, I'm not to give you Hochei Kolam Haba. We talked about this, right? Yeah. So there was Gra / Baal Shem Tov said that Gevaldik. That way I will be over Hashem Shalom and Hasakabel Pras for the rest of my life. So I'll give you all my schar for the Esrog. And the Basko came out of Shemaim and said, because you're willing to give up all your schar, you get double the schar. Right, so there's a story. It can't be, because what he says here, Hashem wants to do you. Hashem wants to be native to you. Hashem doesn't want you to not accept the reward. Hashem wants you to do it out of love, but He wants to be native. So to say Hashem, you can't reward me for what I do good. It's like going like this to Hashem, right? So
why should we have to ask though?
What?
Hashem wanted to be native.
No, we don't have to. What? Oh. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So he says. He's full chesed. He wants to chesed with the brios, besipuk torcham, b'mzonas chayetz, giving them food, etc. Ach brios rova brios malei chet upesha. Most creatures are full of sin and full of crime. Midas adin magum mekachi tamilamala. Midas adin is constantly saying no. Hashem does everything with justice. Hashem can't negate the letter of the law. Hashem made the rules, and He abides by the rules which He made. The classic example of that is Migdal Bavel. Migdal Bavel, Hashem says, I have to go down and change the languages. Otherwise, who knows what they're going to do next, right? So I have this question: is God, you're God. What do you mean? What they're going to do next? You can still zap them anytime. Why do you have to go down and change the languages? And the answer is, unity is a special tool which Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave us. People unified, they can do amazing things, even against Ratzon Hashem. Could Hashem break the rule? Yes, but He made the rule. He lives by the rules, so to speak. Not lives. He functions by the rules. So too, Hashem said, you know what? There's a Midas Adin in the world. Yes, it's true as Mishatev Midas Arachamim. But there's a Midas Adin I can't give if you're not worthy. So there's a shortcut to become worthy. It's called davening. And the Gemara says that it's in the Ein Yaakov, it's not in the Gemara itself, but we assume it was once upon a time the Gemara. It says that Ganav Apul Machtarto Rachmone Kari. A Ganav, before he goes to burgle a house, before he tries to break a house, he davens to Hakadosh Baruch Hu to give him success in his burglary. And the implication of the Gemara is that, and he can get answered. And it'll be successful in his burglary if he davens with enough kavanah. So you see that davening is an awesome tool even for the person who's really a burglar and is davening for his burglary. Where Tzaddik puts it, in that moment he's a tzaddik. Because his tefillah is so beautiful. so umkadaliba, that is going to be answered. So that's the tool, even for the Ganav, to be answered, that he should be successful in his Gneva. That's what Tefillah does. That's how powerful it is. So as he says here, that by davening, he gives satisfaction to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak. That's the Rachmi is automatically directed towards him. And the prosecution of the Midas Adin is sweetened by Rachmi Mechesed. He adds, so to speak, strength to our Kodesh Baruch Hu's capacity to give him a bracha. I dare feel by davening. And then everything is done with complete satisfaction and will. That's it's the misdaven. Which you'll see in a moment. One point before to get Perek Yuches is that it still doesn't explain why Chazal made us daven 3 times a day. There are many other answers for that. It's about that we can't blame Hashem for. Hashem said daven once a day. Chazal said daven 3 times a day. Chazal obviously felt we needed to have additional tefillah to keep us on the straight and narrow, and therefore they made for us a regimented a ritual every day, 3 times a day to daven. But it's also for our benefit, it's not for Hashem. Chazal said you will be better off if you daven 3 times a day, as painful as it may be for you. So that's a separate thing. But what he's saying is that why Hashem gave us mitzvah to daven even once a day, that's so we should be roy for a bracha, even if we don't deserve it on other accounts. That's a special opening, the key which opens it up.
Is that Hashem saying otherwise you would not be Socheh? Meaning, like...
Right. Could be.
You need this shortcut.
Yeah, most people do. He says most people are full of chayt and pesha. That's why they need the shortcut.
For everything.
What?
For everything. I mean, it's the same rule applies for everything. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Well, yes, but the question is why we don't get it. He's saying you don't ask, you don't get it, not because Hashem doesn't want to give, but because there's a midah satim which says you don't always get just because Hashem wants to give.
Right, but I'm saying the reason why you
Yeah.
still have a chiyuv to daven is because you need to ask.
Right.
First of all, we may have addressed it already, but where does it say that you have to daven once a day?
It says L'avdo b'chol avavchem. That's Avodah Shablev Zu Tefillah. That's where I'm from. In Shema.
And also the other question I have for is, how come he doesn't answer very simple? The purpose of davening is like, yeah, Hashem's gonna give you, but like it's the same relationship of a father to a son. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do what's best for my kid, whether the kid asks for it or not. But I'm gonna give it to them. I'm not gonna starve my kid because he didn't ask me for food. But yet, if you ask for it, I'll give it to you with more and more of abundance. And why doesn't he answer that?
It's another good answer. It's a short parak. I like that answer too. He wanted to give his answer. You give many, as I said before, give many answers. But I think his answer is he particularly wants to deal with the case of a rasha and explain that tefillah is necessary for people, even though they're sinners, to get a bracha. That's his specific answer. I know you're addressing that also, but
right.
he's addressing that.
When you ask me, when you start off this parable here, that's the first thing popped in my head. Why do you need to daven? You're right, you don't. But Hashem will give it to you anyway because He loves you as a father. And that was the thought that popped in my head.
No, but he's not going to give it to you anyway.
He is.
Only a minimum.
Correct. He's
Yeah.
going to give you.
Yeah, but you're saying to tap into
But
more.
if you want to get more,
Right, but then answer-
you
so
know,
spe-
ask nicely, Hashem will, then a father
Right.
will
So,
win.
but he'll say to you that Hashem. Again, your answer is a good answer too. But what he probably would say to you is that, well, okay, but why do I have a mitzvah to daven? Why is it a mitzvah?
Same way you teach your kids to say.
Okay, so okay, you're right. It could be that way. I'm okay with that. Okay, let's see the last parak we're going to do. Parak Yud Ches. Yivur Teiru Tzal say Yifas Torah, or Yifei Torah. Machash Hashem Zor Choker Leiv. Since Hashem knows, I remember most kids ask this question in elementary school and never get a good answer. Hashem knows what's in your heart. Why do we have to daven out loud? It's enough to think thoughts of prayer. In fact, there is such an idea. If you're in a place where you can't daven, either because it's not clean or you're not clean, and so you should think the thoughts of prayer, right? Not you can't say them because zimakom matunaf, but you should still think them, and that's okay. It's not. It might not fulfill the obligation, but it's a good thing to do. But so the question is, why are you obliged to actually verbalize it if you can think about it? So so Hashem analyzes your heart. Why does the person have to ask from with his mouth and with his lips? Just direct your heart to heaven, and Hashem will hear from your heart. The Tzidkei Zal, he explains, the perfection which you have over any other living creature, is because we speak. We're speaking creatures. There's a wonderful quality in the nature of the power of his true speech. Together with the kavan in the heart, to arouse rachamim on high, bevel pidiburo with the vibrations of his speech, and bring upon himself a flow from the higher kochos. And negate the power of the prosecutors. And that's why he sweetens it with rachamim and chesed. Because of an Ezer Kodesh, Shagam Namim for his bizarre, but Kamaduchte. Says in some places, Shadibra Atila Bekavana Ritsuya, who Bokeh Chalonei Rokia. The saying davening, speaking davening with the right kavana breaks windows of heaven. Lalos b'malos hasulam, to go up the ladder, malo, higher and higher, and Makor Ratzon Shalamalo, to the source of the Ratzon Shem above. Shemotza mil Makor Chesed Elyon, which is the source of the Chesed on high. V'rachamim Gedolim and great rachamim. Lamshich Shef Lamata, to bring down and flow below. Lamtik Bo Madregos Kichuke Gardinim, to sweeten the levels of prosecution. Bara Shefa Ora Chesed V'rachamim. With this light of chesed and rachamim. And with this, there's a blessing in all the rivers on high. Which bring down the flow to the source of the lower seas. This is with this all the words sustained. Nevertheless, everything goes according to the Eis Ratzon. Based on level of tefillah. In other words, the speech is enhanced by the kavanah. No tefillah goes for naught. It doesn't do everything, it does something. We love and welcome Gezerah's owners unless there's this explicit Gezerah because of certain sins. Or for some other hidden reason. By default, kol tefillah kavanah ritzuya, any tefillah is appropriate kavanah, he meresh shefa chesed rachamim chol lamos. Rouse chesed rachamim all the worlds. Kamur b'zor b'shal parshas Hamon, mefurash, the mehai time mitzvah dam mispal mezonos b'chol yom, av k'yeshla. So a person is diving for food every day, even if he has food. He'll see koch b'gvur shamala, to add strength to the gvur on high, l'or shefa mazon lamala, and arouse that flow from above. The Dibur Tefillah arouses the Chesed Rachamim on high, which sweetens the justice of the prosecutors. I do not like his answer. I don't like his answer. It's just, okay, Dibur is a very powerful tool which Hashem gave us over animals, but so is thought. Thinking is even more significant than speech. So why using the power of thought should also open up all the heavens, all the gates.
I guess when
All
you
people talk, speak, not everyone thinks.
What?
Everyone talks,
Well, that
not
makes
everyone thinks.
so you're saying this is because right. So for people who don't think, at least they can speak the words of
I've
God.
heard once that there's always has to be a key to everything. So if somebody gives you a breath, you have to say amen. There has to be a key to it. It's the same thing here.
So you have to, okay. So the key is the verbalization. What you want to say?
Yeah, basically on the same thought. Meaning like, to think is one thing, but when you actually say it out, you're expressing your feeling because you're saying it. It makes it a lot more concrete.
That's something else. That's not what he said. What you're saying is something else, and that was more or less what I was going to say. They say not everything that you think do you say. They say not everything that they say in their Pri Ugadim. Not everything that you think you say. Not everything you say you write, and not everything you write you publish. So the thing is that every level requires more das, and that's why you can't make something a carbon pigul if you just have a thought. It's a misunderstanding people have. If I think about a carbon, I'm going to think about carbon to eat it out of its proper time and place. It doesn't make it a pigul. It's only if I say it. A thought which is not expressed in words is not a fully developed thought. And that's why when we learn, also we're supposed to learn B'kol, if we can, because words which we say have much more an impression on us than words we just think. And especially when a person learns Musar, according to the Bali Musar, you have to say the words, preferably with a nigun, because that it is much more expressive and much more impactful on a person. And that is, I think, a much better answer than the answer he gives, with all due respect. That the erosion in you is much greater and when you say something than when you just think about it. Thought is very fluid and very much in flux and very easy to gloss over and glide through. Something you say already has much more of an impact. It's more profound. It's something which is a more powerful thought and a more effective way of focusing your thought. So that's what I think the answer is really for this idea.
But also at the same time, a lot of people when they're davening are not really thinking. So at least you're saying the words.
Right. Oh, so I was going to. So I remember in 6th grade we had a substitute. I don't remember. I remember very little about my school years, but there's some things for some reason stick in your mind. So we had a substitute one day. I remember he said, "This is what he said." He said, when you daven a lot of davenings over and over and again, so it's a bunch of zeros, and he drew lots of zeros on the board. And then he said, and then he davened one daven field with kavanah. Really davened one field with kavanah. So he says the zero doesn't go at the end. The zero goes at the beginning. In other words, it's not 0001. It's 1000. And they say the Baal Shem Tov, when you used to come to old shuls, used to say, oh, it's very, very, very stuffy in here. Why? He said there are lots of tefillos here which never went up. They're still down here. So I have to. Baal Shem Tov's avodah was to bring those tefillos up to Shemayim. So the saying is true. I think along these lines, if I davened and I said something, it exists. It came into Olam Hazeh. Later, when I daven with kavanah, it can uplift that as well. Or if the Baal Shem Tov comes into my shul, it can uplift that one as well. If I never said it, it never had a kiyum. And that's an advantage that one day, that field which I davened back then, which was a zero, can be preceded by a whole bunch of
We
ones.
see that in Tefillah Sakta. Right, I forgot the exact name, but you sort of call it tefillahs that
Right. All this that I was out couple on the entire year. Yes, Fields Zaka says it. But I remember the rabbi who was my substitute in 6th grade and putting all the zeros on the board.
Having just read this and learned this now, my question is as follows. If there's a time, I think I may have asked the Rose this already, but there's times where I just don't feel like that. I walk in, I'm like, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
What's
You
the
do it anyway.
suggestion? What?
You do it anyway.
You do it anyway.
Yeah. And someday, some other
It's
feel
not-
up with that
But
one.
I'm not in the
Don't
mood.
ask a
I'm saying, for sure, for the same reason why you're supposed to daven like Musaf on Shabbos, like it's extra, but you have to do it.
That's the difference between Judaism and Christianity, lahavdil. Christianity, you have to feel what you're doing. We don't have to feel what we're doing. We just have to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Do all these topics that we learn also apply to, let's say, benching?
Yeah, of course, yes. This is just feel as an
Right,
example.
It's along the same lines.
Yeah,
It's
of
also
course.
a bunch of brachas and you
Absolutely.
need to bring it out.
That's right, exactly. Okay, Shkoda Kabbalah, next we're going to a different topic. Thank you very much.
Isn't Bechira also one of the differences between us and animals?
That's
Only
a good
the
question,
word.
yes. It's a good question because we don't always exercise Bechira.
It's true.
Yes, but when we do,
don't,
yes, when we do, that is one of the differences. Yes, that is true. Yeah, but that's also in thought. Yes.
There is one animal that does not have a hero, by the way.
Me?
Only one. No, there's one. They say a cow does not have a hero.
Yeah, it
It
does,
does not. It does not. It just eats until like.
so I
falls down.
once watched something on
It's sick,
YouTube
man.
which said the Farish that cows are intelligent.
They may be intelligent. It doesn't mean they have a hero.
That may be okay.
They eat until they get sick.
Turns out a
That's
cow
how
can.
they get
I do that.
sick.
I do that on Shabbos sometimes.
Right, but that's in order for us to see, because otherwise, how do you know what not hero means? Right? I believe Hashem created every single thing that we can see what it means to not have it.
Mhm.
So one of those things, our Bechira is like, yeah, if kind of, he's not gonna make a human like that because it wouldn't be good. But like they say, like a cow does not have a Bechira.
That's
Otherwise,
interesting.
it'll stop eating. It knows it's not good for it.
Yeah.
But it just keeps eating until.
But most animals are not like that. Most animals they don't eat when it's
No, they
passing.
don't. They say that's the only one that does not have a
Not
Bechira.
to get into Tzaddik or the rest of the turkeys, but so many people who don't daven who seem to have a good life.
Right. Absolutely.
If
They're
Right.
getting the stuff without any tefillah.
Right, but it's not, might not be for their benefit.
Either way, also,
Yeah.
it could be.
That's why I ask Hashem, Chaim Shema Hashem Mishlosi Beinu L'Toiva. Because sometimes you get your Mishal slave and it's not L'Toiva.
Also,
So-
Hashem doesn't always answer in our generation. Meaning,
Right.
now,
Yeah, it
now
could be
for-
previous
right.
stories.
Yes.
So that,
yeah.
No, but that's a much better
Take that.
answer. Because just because a person's rich doesn't mean he's like living on high.
No, I
He
mean, it
got the
says
worst
in fairness
life
that
ever.
sometimes.
Because he's rich.
It seems to me that the worst people, the people who have the worst lives in the world are Hollywood actresses.
Killing themselves. Really.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, I
You
think
know,
Kanye West is like the next level. But
That's
He already
true. Yeah.
snapped.
I'll say
Yeah.
sure.
Yee.
Yay.
Yay.
okay.
Sugar.